Next up, we have the employee turnover dashboard that we have to build. And here we have 4 very basic but very useful visuals. The first one is the annual turnover rate by year that shows us how many employees are leaving the company, and we are looking at it in the form of a trend line over the last 5 years. This can be broken down into every department. The second visual is the number of exits by year that shows us how many employees in actual they are leaving the company and whether it was a voluntary exit or it was a non-voluntary exit. The third one is about the reasons for leaving the company. This is important from the perspective of HR, that they want to understand if the employees are happy in the company or they are leaving the company due to certain reasons which can be addressed and which can be taken care of. The last one is the retention rate by employment duration with employee engagement. So what we are seeing here is the retention rate according to the employment duration. So if the new employees, they are being retained in the company, are they staying in the company, or they are leaving the company, and so is the case with the old employees. And also we have average engagement score, which shows us how employees are committed to the company. So let's start building the visuals. The annual turnover rate by year, which is a line visual. So we bring in the line chart from the calendar. We bring in the x-axis, turnover rate, retention rate. We do not have the turnover rate, so we'll have to build it. So right click, new measure. We'll go step by step. Employee turnover rate. First, we will look at the employees from the last year. So we'll call them var employees from last year. And that would be calculate count of employee ID is blank, termination date. So any employees that have not been terminated this year, and we do the date add, say calendar date -1 year. Okay, so these are the employees that were retained last year. We are going to look at the employees from this year. Calculate count of employees, employee ID, is blank, termination date. So these are the employees which are present as of now for this year. So if we take 2024 and 2023, this will calculate the employees for 2024 and this will calculate the employees for 2023, which were not terminated. That's why the termination date is blank. Then we bring in the terminations. Count employee ID and this time not is blank, termination date. Okay, next what we are going to do is to calculate the average number of employees which will be equal to employees from this year plus employees from last year divided by 2. Let's give a tab for formatting, and then what we are going to do is to return divide terminations by average number of employees. So what we are doing here is that we are taking the terminations of this year, which is year 2024, and we are dividing that by the average number of employees. And the average number of employees is any employees who are present this year plus the employees that were present last year, that were not terminated last year, and we divide that by 2. So that gives us an average of the number of employees that have been retained or that have stayed in the company, and then we use that as the denominator. Now we bring in the employee turnover rate, and we are going to disconnect it with this one. The legend here we are going to use is the department group. And now let's do the basic cleanup. So we include the data labels, but the turnover rate is not making much sense because it's not in percentage. So we are going to use this as the percentage with, usually I'm using 1 decimal place, but it's your own choice. At the same time, what we can do is that we can match the color of the data labels with their lines. We will put it like corporate. The color should be this one. Okay. Then we go to ops and supply chain, purple. Ops and supply chain, the value should be purple. And then we have product development. So product dev, we go here, choose the dark blue color, and we go here, data labels, product dev, value, it should be the dark blue color. One more thing we can do here is we can remove the year label here, title, yeah, and also we can remove this one. Okay, the number of exits by year, a stacked column chart, year. In employee turnover, we will call it count or number of exits equal to count x. So what we are going to do here is we are going to filter first the employee details, fact employee details column, which is voluntary exit, and we are saying that this should not be equal to this, because if the voluntary exit is either yes, no, or not applicable. Count for the expression, so we will count the employee ID. That is it, and we are going to bring this here. And we are going to go to this format, edit interactions, disable the interaction. So this is now taking the shape. So we will take voluntary exit from fact employee details, and you put it here. And then what we are going to do is to adjust the colors. So the columns will be for the yes, we will keep it like this, and for the no, we are going to keep it like this. But we can arrange the legend in the descending order. So the yes comes first, the no comes second. For the legend, we are going to place it at the top right. That looks better. And last but not the least, we are going to display the labels. The third one, it's going to be a quick one. For that, we will bring in the clustered bar chart, bring in the number of exits first, reason for leaving. That goes like this. Okay, now this is good. And again, the basic cleanup. Let's try it like this. If we do the format painter, great. Just have to adjust the colors, and we put it like this. Yeah, so this one is also done. The last visual that we are going to create is the retention rate by employment duration with employee engagement. So we are going to use the line and clustered column chart, bring in the employment duration group. So employment duration group, that can come to the x-axis, and then we have to bring in the retention rate. retention rate, it will be the column y-axis. Then we have to arrange it according to the employment duration group in ascending. Okay, cleanup as usual. Here what we are going to do is to bring a line. For that we need average engagement score, so that will be the line axis, but the line is going to be slightly different. We are going to use the markers for the lines. Firstly, the color, it will be lighter like this. We are going to show it for the categories. They are going to be like this, and we are going to increase them to 10. We are going to remove the width. So now we have something like this. But again, it doesn't make sense that we are starting our axis from 92. So we are going to adjust the secondary y-axis. Its maximum should be 1. It should be 100, sorry. It's the average engagement score. And the minimum should be 0. And what we are going to do here is to make sure that the labels are appearing as well. So we will go to the data labels, average engagement score, and if we can have a background, but the background should be very light, it might feel better. Set the legend to the right hand side, top right, average engagement score. We can also remove the grid lines if we want, because we are already showing the data labels, which is enough, I would say. So we can remove the grid lines as well. So this report page is now complete. Our next dashboard is about engagement and training, and the first visual here is the average satisfaction and the average engagement by year. We can see here the trend chart of the satisfaction score and the engagement scores, how they are developing over time. So this gives us the idea if the employees, they are feeling much satisfied and happy in the company over the period of time. The second one is the satisfaction score, but by employment duration. So here we see whether the old employees are more satisfied in the company or the new employees are more satisfied in the company. Then third one is the mandatory training completion rate. So in every company, we usually have some kind of mandatory trainings which are supposed to be completed by a certain deadline. So here we are trying to see if any of the departments or any of the staff is not completing the mandatory training before the deadline. So that gives us a check for that. So here we can see that 235 trainings out of the total, or 7.09% of the trainings, are yet to be completed. The fourth visual is the top 10 job titles by highest training hours. So in any company, there are certain core departments where a lot of training is needed. Let's say if there's a car manufacturing company that needs a lot of training for the R&D and the technical departments. So we are trying to see what are the top 10 job titles that are receiving the highest number of training hours. The last one is about the training hours of job titles versus undefined metric. It could be either engagement score or the satisfaction score. What we see here is how the training hours affect the engagement score or the satisfaction scores of the employees. The dots here, again, they are differentiated according to the department group. However, the circles, they represent the job titles. So here we can see that the product dev and the manufacturing jobs are having the highest number of training hours, and they are also at the top side of the satisfaction score. So now we will start building the visual. Let's start building the visuals. We bring the line chart. Check. Expand it, and we position it in the middle. Then we have to bring in the year as the axis. So we go to calendar, x-axis, and also we edit the interaction first. Average engagement score, y-axis. There we go. And then we have the satisfaction score. Let's search it. Satisfaction score. We bring that one as well. We'll do a quick cleanup so this looks better. and we are going to rename it as satisfaction score and engagement score. We place the legend to the top right. There it is. The first one is done. We copy it and we paste it here. Resize it and we align it. Align the bottom. Edit the interactions and make it like this. Now we are going to remove the engagement score. Employment duration, that will be as the legend, so that comes here, and then we remove the legend title. There we go. The third visual is the mandatory training completion rate. We are going to show the trainings that have been completed and the trainings that are remaining. What we are going to do here is to bring in the donut chart. We will resize it to a proper size, and then we will align the bottom. Now what we are going to do is to bring in the total mandatory trainings completed. That's this one. And then we have to create another measure. That would be total mandatory trainings remaining. That would be equal to sum of mandatory trainings remaining. That is it. And then we are going to bring this one. So now this should be 92.91%. Yep. And we format this visual accordingly. We go to the slices. We put this slice as the darker one and the other slice as the lighter one. We are going to rename it. So we will say completed and remaining. That is better. The legend should be on the center left. That's good. And the labels should be only the value. So it should be the data value, and the value should be in like this. Okay. Now we have to put in the number in the middle. Before we bring in the number, one last thing that we can do with this donut chart is we can make the thickness of the slice slightly less. So we can go to the slices, we go to spacing, and we can set it to 70. That gives us more space to fit the number inside. Now what we have to do is we will bring in the KPI card, and we will bring in the mandatory training completion rate, which is 92.9. We will set this value to 0 decimal places. So we will put it like it's a percentage and it's 0 decimal places. That looks good. We are going to remove any kind of category label, and then we have to adjust the font size. The font size should be 22. So we will set it to 22, and then we have to fit it inside the circle. We can then click on this, and then we can say bring forward. Also, we set the background too. The next visual that we are going to create is top 10 job titles by highest training hours, and it's going to be a bar chart. We will copy the bar chart from here, Control C, Control V. So we have to create one measure. That is going to be average training hours equal to average of training hours. Remove the reason for leaving, and we are going to bring in the job title from here, and number of exits will be replaced with average training hours. We have to limit this to top 10. So we'll go for the filters. Select this. Has to be top 10 by training hours. So we will bring in the training hours, apply, and now we have these 10. Job title, average training hours, we can say training hours. So this one is done. The last visual is training hours of job titles versus satisfaction score or the engagement score. That is going to be a scatter plot. We will bring the scatter plot from here. So we will bring in all these three, 1, 2, and 3. Engagement and training. Don't sync. Now what we have to do is to keep only satisfaction score and the engagement score. So we will select this, filters, and we will say satisfaction score, engagement score. Select this one. So this is fine. The next thing that we have to do here is we are going to say training hours of job titles versus satisfaction score or engagement score. Here what we have to do is to replace this part. So we will remove the values of department. We will bring in job title here. For x-axis we have to bring in the training hours. So we will bring in average training hours. For y-axis it has to be employee metric. Will be from here. We have to remove the labels, so we will remove this, and then we can see satisfaction score. So this is fine. We can remove the label from the y-axis, so we can remove the title here, and we can bring in the training hours title, which will be like this, and we can call it training hours instead of average training hours. The whole page is complete now. Next up we have the employee details dashboard, which is kind of simple dashboard that gives us the distribution of our workforce. So the first visual is total workforce by gender distribution. That gives us the total workforce in terms of males and females. Then we have workforce gender distribution by department. Here it's giving us the gender distribution by department groups, and then we have the tooltip where we can see the gender distribution by department. Then we have the workforce distribution by age group and gender. So here we are seeing the workforce by genders as well as the age group. Next up we have workforce by employment duration. Here we are seeing how many employees are present in the workforce and what is their employee duration, so kind of a distribution. We can see the total workforce by education level, and this gives us the idea how qualified our workforce is. Lastly, we have the workforce by office location, where it gives us the number of employees per office. The next visual that we are going to build is the total workforce gender distribution. For that, we can go to engagement training. We will copy this visual. We can paste it here. And we resize it. Now what we have to do is to bring in the current head count. So we will bring in current head count, and then we will bring in the gender for the legend. There we go. And this time we are going to select some light colors for the female gender. So what we are going to do here is go to slices. For the males we can keep the similar one, and for female we can keep the lighter color. And for the legend we can put it at the bottom center, and we can turn off the title. That looks better. The detail labels could be the data value and the percentage of total. Can say that the values should be without any decimal places. Here it should be 0 decimal places. That looks better. And then what we have to do is to bring in this card as well. So we will go to this card, Control C, Control V, and like that. Have to bring in the current head count. So current head count, there it is. There it is. So the second visual is the workforce gender distribution by department. Go to performance. We copy this. We bring it here. And we go here. We already have the current headcount. That's fine. Department group is fine. The legend has to be different. So we have to include gender as the legend. So we'll remove the legend from here. So here we come, series, female. This color is representing the females, and for the male color, we have this one. And also we can bring in the data labels, and we can remove the x-axis from the values. We have to make sure one more thing, that there are no filters, because sometimes when we are copying the visuals, so there are filters. Now it is perfect. So this one is done. The third one is the workforce distribution by age group and gender. It is going to be a similar one. It will be a column chart, but it will be having age groups. For that, we need to create the age group column. So we go to dim employee, and then we are going to create the employee age and then the employee age group. So right click, new column, employee age equal to date difference, date of birth with today, year. So we have the employee age, and now employee age group, new column. I'm going to paste the expression which we know from before, that how the switch expression works. We know that we'll include the true statement and the other, and then this is the division that I am going to use. So employee age group is also done. We come here, let's copy this, paste it. I'll simply align all of these with the bottom. That's fine. Visualizations, so let's change this one, and it will be like this, but this time the x-axis is not going to be department group, it will be employee age group. Yep. Next up we have workforce by employment duration. Again, we'll take the same one, paste it, and let's align them to the left here. Yeah, okay, and we remove the employee age group. We look at duration group. So we are going to remove the legend. It looks better. And we are going to make sure that we are not using any kind of filters. That's good. And we are going to arrange it according to the duration in ascending order. And also you have to make sure that these numbers add up to 450. Then we have to build workforce by education level. So we will take this, Control B, line to the left. We are going to remove the department group, and we are going to bring in the education level, and we are going to remove the gender distribution here. This one is done as well. The last one remaining is the workforce by office location. This one is going to be a map visual. First we adjust the size. Now we have to bring in the location. So the location, this one, and we have to put the data category as city. So once we bring in the location, We are seeing the cities. That's great. The bubble size has to be the head count. So it is head count. Yes, it detects it properly. Then we have to bring in the data labels, so category labels. That's fine. We can increase the transparency of the background, something like 55. Yes, that works. And then we have to remove the title. So this is completed, and we have completed our HR report as well. Thank you for watching.